And how do you spell your... Oh, you got one. Okay.
Okay, great. And this is, just wondering what the film is.
The decisions that our leaders make will influence our collective future. Let me say it again. The decisions that they make at those summits will influence our collective future. The time to act is here, folks. The time to take bold actions is here.
This generation now, we are the first generation that actually has the resources, the technology, and the ability to end global poverty. So this year, the G8 could really help to catalyze a breakthrough plan to get back on track to achieving the Millennium Development Goals. It could do this by coming in with a very bold maternal and child health initiative, which Harper has said will be on the agenda. But unless it's bold, it's not going to do the trick. Unless it's comprehensive, it's not going to do the trick. But they've also got to address some of the causes of the stalling of the progress on the MDGs. That includes doing something about climate change and doing something about the food crisis.
We have been blessed over time by multiple resources. And so it used to be fur, and then it was fish, and then it was lumber. And the point there is that we have moved well beyond each one in terms of our economy. So don't be captivated by oil. So oil and all of the conversations that we have now about oil, this is the latest in a long chain of our blessings, yes, but it won't be forever. And here in Canada, we've always had a problem with relying too much on what it is that we can draw money out of now, be it fur or fish or lumber or now oil. So all of our conversations have to be in that context, that there is a history here. So what I'm going to do now is to talk a little bit about climate change politics in terms of my research, maybe in a more practical way for you to give some maybe potentially controversial or contrary advice in terms of where I think the activism around the climate change issue has to go in the future in order to keep pace with the public and to keep pace with the government and so on. Activists have been very good to date, and I'm talking about inside of Canada and also outside, in terms of creating the image which is wholly necessary, that this is a transnational problem, that this is a global problem, that this is a problem that will breach the barriers in between the local and the global. It is both at the same time. And that is a unique achievement in terms of environmental activism. We need to imagine what the future is going to look like aside from the weather. What is it going to look like in terms of urban issues? What is it going to look like in terms of energy issues? What is it going to look like in terms of justice issues? That's the future of the climate change issue. The everyday, that ground has been very well tilled. We have to start talking about longer timescales. And the way to do that, and almost completely uncontested, is just to start talking about it. Because our government has never even considered having, say, a 500-year plan for Canada. Or even a 50-year plan for Canada. And one that brings multiple issues together, that asks the broad questions that we would expect our elected leaders to ask. What do we want the future to look like?
We've had the case made that we need to take quick and urgent action globally. And then we have the question of how are we paying for this? And what's our global response for this? And in this country, we have a government that should be providing leadership, given its obligation in defending and representing us as citizens, given its role as a leader of the G8 and G20 and host for that dynamic, and given its reality as the government of one of the wealthiest countries on this planet. And instead what we have is a government that is madly pedaling in reverse, moving back away from sustainable, realistic solutions to fund the very urgent action that we've described as needed. But the issue that we have actually been advocating is a financial transaction tax. So it's the Tobin tax on steroids. It is a broader tax on all financial transactions, but again, will have so little impact on your life when you walk into the front door of your credit union or your bank branch and actually deposits the money or takes them out. The revenue that would be generated by the FTT is $400 billion a year. Now, that's big bucks. I'm the first to acknowledge that. But let us just put that big bucks in perspective. Last year, the world found $17 trillion under the mattress to bail out the banks and to refloat our economies. What would we do with that $400 billion? We would take a slice of it to fund climate adaptation. The other big slice is on the Millennium Development Goals. Dennis spoke at the outset about the fact that we are further from those goals today than we were 2 years ago. It is unacceptable that this government is dodging its responsibility to provide leadership at the G8 and the G20 in identifying what is the way forward collectively to fund the commitments that we've made and the obligations we have as citizens and as human beings. And it's really critical in this next couple of weeks that you take every opportunity you can to have people understand that it isn't about the details of the proposal in which we want to get lost. It's about the political will we need to mobilize, and that there's nothing less than leadership as the acceptable response to the Canadian government. Thank you.
Monique, nice to meet you. So these are like the 3 things that we are calling for bold actions and concrete actions at the G8 G20 Summit in Toronto. So that's why I think Dennis' presentation talking about like some situation and then the other presenter was talking about the mainly climate change issues in Canada.
I don't see those problems here now, so where is the need for growth as we understood it 20 years ago? There was a need 20 years ago because, like I said, there were homes that didn't have electricity, there were homes that didn't have water. There were improvements to be done, there was infrastructure to build. Now what infrastructure do we need to build? Well, we need to improve the infrastructure, not build totally new ones. There isn't a new sky highway of flying cars to build. I don't think there will be in my lifetime, nor should there be. But maybe a smarter electrical grid makes more sense, or safe drinking water in rural towns.
See, the thing is, like, we can't have the confidence because they don't really look out for us. It doesn't seem that they do. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's why we feel that. I mean, and we do think long term because we're older and better.
A better idea. Yeah, I just don't see it realistically being implemented. Banks would reject it for sure. They have big lobby groups for sure, so I'm sure it's going to be very, very difficult if they really are to implement this tax. I don't know how they'll do it.
Well, the thing is that not so much in Canada because they've not been painted quite as the bad guys, but in Germany, UK, US, the banks are the bad guys. They're the ones who caused it. So there is unprecedented public outrage about the banks. And so that's why I think it's going to happen. Not because of any politics in Canada, but because in the major countries there is a lot of public pressure for doing something about this and taxing the banks. Now, I think it has to be a financial transaction tax, not just the banks, but a broader range of financial transactions.
Our air miles make carbon dioxide. Our lifestyle makes lots of debris. You tell me the planet's in danger. Oh, bring back my planet to me. Bring back, oh, bring back my planet to me, Bring back, oh, bring back my planet to me. Our cars emit unburned organics, monoxide and nitrates and lead, but it's nearly 2 blocks to the bus